You need to get out of your own way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what does that mean?
Get out of your own way means that you're the only one blocking yourself from everything that you want. Your circumstances, your situation, that doesn't matter. You have a choice whether or not you want to persevere. You have a choice whether or not you want to seek the things you want, actively seek them, actively go out and find them. You have a choice in how you feel. You have a choice in how you show up every day. There's nothing and no one that's standing in your way. There's nothing physical in your way keeping you from anything. It's you.
We must have a high tolerance for chaos. Learn to embrace the flow.
Forgive all that we can't forget. Regret nothing we can't let go. For despite what we have learned, infinitely more we do not know.
So let us tune our frequencies
Until new vibrations grow. Let's pretend that it never ends.
And now, it's time to start the show.
Salud. So this is keeping with tradition because you were a guest on episode 1, a guest on episode 11, and now it's episode 22.
Oh man.
And
I wish I could look up what 22 means.
what, you mean the number 22?
Yeah.
Like the significance of it?
Yeah, look up angel number 22 and then click on Joanne. Gotta edit that out. That one.
Angel number 22 brings the attributes of number 2 appearing twice, amplifying its influences. Number 2 relates to your divine life purpose and soul mission, duality and balance, partnership and relationships, diplomacy and adaptability, insight, sensitivity, and selflessness. Master number 22 carries the energies and attributes of diplomacy, intuition and emotion, balance and harmony, adaptability, diplomacy, personal power, redemption, idealism, expansion and evolution, philanthropy and service and duty, and manifesting your highest ideals and desires. Number 22 is a number of power and accomplishment. Angel number 22 encourages you to work diligently on your spiritual life path and soul purpose.
You know what's interesting about the number 22 is that Beth Devin's father, he always saw the number 22 everywhere, and he was always like, that's a bad number, it's off, it's a bad luck number, it's awful, I see that everywhere, it means it's bad, and I never really, I thought what he was saying was slightly not accurate. Not that I knew anything at that point about numbers, but I always thought he was a little, like, back off, like, it's a number. Like, why would you think it's bad luck? And what makes you believe it's bad luck? But it's interesting now, knowing what I know about numbers, the consistent...
messages from your...
No, like the consistent numbers, like 222, 333, in numbers in a consistent form. I don't know, whatever.
So at the time, you didn't... like, the way he recognized that those numbers would come up all the time, and you didn't think there was anything to that?
I mean, I definitely didn't think it meant anything bad, as he was assuming it did. If I knew then what I knew now, I would have told him that's your guides trying to get in touch with you and tell you something and try to move you into the right direction. You are not on the right path, and you should be following something else. I mean,
Well, and not only that they'll use the numbers to let you know that you're not on the right path or there's something you're missing, but they'll also use those numbers to let you know that you are on the right path, like a thumbs up, keep going.
Right.
And so when you see them, you stop and have this moment of awareness and try and differentiate, like, what is the message I'm getting here?
You should always, when you see consistent numbers like that, you should always check right away with your thoughts and your intentions in the moment. What you're doing, what you're thinking, all that stuff. That's when you know. That's how you can decipher what the message is.
I have the same thing. I was just thinking about this earlier today. With flocks of geese.
Hmm.
And there's this whole like inside joke with the geese and Genesis and Gabble Ratchet, but for some reason, if I step outside and I hear a flock of geese, it's like an alarm to tell me, wake up, pay attention, what's going on, what are you thinking? It's some weird reminder for me. I don't exactly know why.
Maybe it's just as simple as that. Maybe it's because that's the way they get your attention, through that loud honk.
Yeah.
You know, the subtle doesn't work with you, so maybe they're like, okay, well, if he'll hear these geese, let's make this his reminder to, like, check in with himself.
Yes, that's what it is, because it is so surreal and noticeable against the silent background. It sort of drowns everything else out.
And if that's the first thought you get when you hear something like that, you have to follow your intuition. Like, usually when you're getting the downloads and stuff like that, it is the first thought or sense that comes through that is accurate.
Which is hard to pay attention to, because then
Right.
you immediately second guess.
Right, your logical mind goes, wait, that's not right. Wait, I probably heard that somewhere. Or, wait, why would that be? Or wait, is this possible? You know?
Yeah. Okay, so I do have kind of an outline just to keep us in check. And we first recorded our first episode in March of 2016. And then we were still in Bloomfield at that time. And then it didn't air. I didn't actually air that episode and start the actual podcast until April of 2017. So about a year later. And the last episode you and I did together, episode 11, was on September 17th. So a few months ago.
So it's been 3 years since your first recording.
2 years. Almost 2 years.
Why does it say episode 22, September 17th?
Because it should say episode 11.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
This is episode 22.
Got it.
So, March of 2016. It was the end
That's
of March.
2 years ago.
It's 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I used that as a guidepost and go, okay, what has happened since then? And oh my God, I'm not the same person as I was back then. In a way, I am, looking at us and our relationship and just everything that's happened, even in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the last few months.
It's interesting because I think I, in particular, forget how much progress we've made individually and as a couple, because I'm constantly on this, I'm constantly wanting more and wanting better all the time. I'm always wanting to learn more, grow more, do more, want this to be better, striving for the next goal, and I get so caught up in the forward movement, which is, in a way is interesting because, they say live in the moment, live in the now, and I'm trying to do that. But am I? I don't know that I am, because I'm constantly looking for the future. Like, what can I do next? What can I do now? And I forget about all, where I've come from, or, remember where you were 2 years ago and look where you are now. Don't say that you didn't make any progress, you know what I mean?
Right.
Being hard on myself, maybe hard on us as a couple, but forgetting where we started.
And that things take time
Right.
to grow and change.
Right.
But you take me out of the equation. You personally have come a long way in 2 years, and you've done a tremendous amount. And that's some of what I want to talk about, because the last time we had an episode, you were either just about to start the new job or starting the new job, and you had just begun quantum healing.
Yes. So if we did our last episode on the 17th of September, I started my new job on the 25th, decided to take it, I think, and had just got my quantum healing certification.
Yes.
Around that time.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So how's that going for you? I already know this.
Well, the quantum healing?
Well, let's start with the real world. Let's start with the job, because I really think that was the catalyst.
Right.
Yes.
And it's well, what do you want to know? Like how the job's going, or like what
specifically?
specifically?
How has it changed your mood and your perspective?
Mm.
Because you were going from, at Westfield, it was 14 hours a day, 30 to 40 minute commute either way, nonstop urgency, emergency, you doing most of the work, surrounded by coworkers, a negative energy vibe.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And it got to the point where you just desperately needed out, and then suddenly 2 miles down the road, this new place hires you, and then in the first few weeks you thought you were going to go crazy because it was the complete opposite. It was slow, it was the complete opposite of what you were going through at Westfield, and then you were bored most of the time. And then that changed. Mm-hmm. You reached some sort of synthesis. So
right.
I guess talk about that.
Well, I think when I was first transitioning to the new job, and I was a little touchy for a couple of weeks, unsure if I made the right decision, unsure if I fit in, unsure if I could do this, general practice work as opposed to the constant go of emergency, wondering if my skills were not going to be utilized, if I was going to lose my skills, my knowledge, my drive to, I do have that type of personality where I like to the go kind of thing,
mm-hmm.
Most times. After I got, I had to, I wanted to leave. I didn't think I wanted to stay. I was really like, I don't know if this is for me. I'm going to look elsewhere. So I started looking for just anything because I just still was convinced that veterinary medicine was not where I wanted to go or where I still wanted to be.
Right.
And then, I stuck it out. Not because I couldn't find anything else. I mean, that was part of it, but also because I think I knew I needed to give myself a little bit more of a chance and give them more of a chance.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I don't know, suddenly, actually I do know because we talked about it the other day, I was having a rough week there because, like you said, it was just completely different, completely opposite. And then, I go from one environment to a completely different one. That's traumatizing almost. Not traumatizing, I'm exaggerating, but, it's like taking a fish out of water almost.
Absolutely.
It's completely different.
Sure.
And to adapt is tough, sometimes impossible. But I remember I was going through my Reiki Master training at that point.
Yes.
And I was learning all these new techniques about how to send healing to situations, send healing to goals, do distance healing, all that stuff. So I decided to go into meditation one day and surround the building with the flower of life and send it Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
And I decided to commit to allowing the healing to do what it's supposed to do. And if it's supposed to work, it's supposed to work. And I'm a firm believer, and this is kind of what we're taught too, is that you can't send healing to somebody who's not open and receptive to it, because then it just won't do anything. If one is not open to healing and changing and whatever, it's not that it's pointless to do, but it's just not going to do much, I guess.
It's not going to get through.
Right. And I think what happened with that is I sent the building, the company, the hospital healing, but what needed to be healed was me. What needed to change a little bit was me. I needed to be a little bit more patient with myself and with them, understanding that I'm a new person in a new environment with people who've been in that company for 16, 18, 24 years. People have been there for years. Their entire lives were spent at the hospital. And here I come, this brand new person. It's going to take me some time to figure out if I fit in and have them figure out if I fit in, But honestly, everything changed once I did the distance healing on the building itself and the situation itself.
Yes, because now I know that they love you.
Right.
Which, to me, was inevitable. Like anybody that gets to know you long enough, and because that's what you were at Westfield, you were this force of positive energy that it was hard to maintain there.
Well, it was, and it was interesting because I was in the victim mode. I was kind of in the victim and the confrontational kind of levels of energy there because. Mm-hmm. as much as I was that for a long time, I would say that Westfield brought the worst out of me, and that's why I couldn't stay anymore.
Yeah.
And, you know, as much as that is not their responsibility, it was my responsibility of the way I showed up and the way I allowed them to affect me. The lesson was that, you know, this environment no longer serves me. I cannot grow and prosper and thrive in this environment, and I need to leave.
Right.
And the moment I made the decision to leave and I gave this new place a chance, everything changed. Now there are limitless possibilities for me here. Like, the amount of growth and potential that I have with this company is mind-blowing.
Okay, so now let's talk about that. You are working on a leadership development training seminar that could possibly, the company itself, well, why don't you explain? Because you're better at it. What are you working on?
So,
what's the potential here?
with my life coach training, I'm also trained in something called energy leadership. So it's based on 7 levels of energy and 2 different types of energy. And once you understand these 7 levels of energy, you then realize that you have a choice on which level you want to work with in every moment. And the reason that this is good as far as leadership is concerned is because one of the core beliefs of this modality is that you lead your life. You don't have to be a CEO, a manager. You don't have to have a leadership title, a supervisor, you know, whatever. It is based off of you lead your life. When you are a good, influential leader, when you are a good, influential individual, that is so valuable in your role as a human being, but it is also more valuable in your role as somebody in a leadership position, because we have all of these definitions for what a manager is. It's like the person in charge, the person that makes the rules, the person that gives orders, you know, the person that has authority over the people that do not hold that title. And the belief in energy leadership is that we are all leaders, and we are all leading our lives. So it's a way to get the term manager, supervisor, whatever, not, I don't know how to explain it.
It sounds like separating the label from the actual practice of it.
Right, and how many times do we... So pretty much my intention with this program, to see if I can make it make sense, is that I want to teach the leadership in this field, the veterinary field, how to be the leaders that they have always wanted to be led by. You know, be the leader that you wish to see in your practice, you know, be the change that you wish to see in the world, kind of thing. But, you know, in this case, I want to show people to embody the qualities of these higher levels of energy in your life and in your position as a leader, because when the leaders are being the change, that trickles down to the support staff and even to the patients and to the clients, and it has the potential to really raise the energy of any facility, whether it's veterinary, whether it's teaching, whether it's any healthcare, whether it's at any company, anything.
Now, there were so many times we were going to record this, and one of the things I asked you was, have you ever heard of Hegel, the philosopher? And you said no, and then you said save it for the podcast.
Oh, right. Thank God you remembered that.
Yeah, so Hegel boiled down to the simplest point. He had this concept of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, which is no different than yin, yang, and the circle that contains them both. So I was thinking about Hegel and that in terms of your path in the last few months, because at Westfield it was, I need to get out of this field completely.
Right.
I'm done with veterinary medicine and the whole field after all these years and all that I've learned and the knowledge and experience, and I need to pursue, you know, my spiritual work. You did the life coaching, you were doing the Reiki, the quantum healing hypnosis, which you've been doing consistently every week for months. We'll get to. But then, so the veterinary medicine was the thesis, That was your job. The antithesis was the spiritual work you were doing, and it looked at first like they were divergent from each other, and now you've reached a synthesis of the two.
Really interesting.
Because you put the bait on the hook, and the higher ups there have taken it, and they think that this would be valuable. So there's real potential here.
So you're saying what shifted, essentially?
I don't know if I'm asking what shifted, because it seems like you shifted. You made a decision.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up the urgency to pursue spiritual work, because there was a point where I believed, and I still, I do believe I have come here for the purpose of, being a light worker. Helping people remember the light, bringing them back to the light, and helping them embody the light so that we could help the earth shift and we could all shift together. And that's very important to me. Even with everything that's going on with veterinary medicine right now and the leadership stuff and how happy I am and thriving in this new place, the spiritual part of it is still very, very, very important to me. But what I think happened is the shift that I made was that I realized it doesn't matter what work I do, I am bringing the light with me, and I'm embodying the light no matter what work I do. And just by me, and this is not coming from an egotistical place, but just by me going into some place or some situation with the intention of being the light for whoever needs it and whoever is receptive to it right here and now. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. It doesn't matter if I'm taking care of a patient. It doesn't matter if I'm answering phones. It doesn't matter if I'm lecturing on leadership. It doesn't matter if I'm doing quantum healing or Reiki. I have all these tools that I've been blessed with, all these different modalities and all this different education and all these different ways of healing and educating and sharing, that that's it. Those are just the tools. So veterinary medicine is a tool for me because, I've noticed that when I do go into a hospital, I am very well received very quickly because of the positive attitude that I have in every situation, which, it's hard to keep that attitude up in a place. And a lot of my coworkers do tell me on a daily basis, like, thank God you're here because I couldn't have got through this day without your energy. And again, I'm trying, and there's a part of me that says that's your ego talking, and maybe a part of it is, and this is the shadow work we were discussing earlier that I'm going to be doing, but, I'm just trying to notice it. And why should I even feel like that's an egotistical thing? This is what these people are telling me, so what do I need to change within myself to stop resisting that compliment or that, whatever, I think sharing it, I feel like people are going to judge me and be like, who does she think she is, bringing the light? You know what I'm saying? Like that's work. That's again, but this is a good thing, because these are things that I am willing to start looking at.
The ego can think that way, right? And get off on itself, sure. But nevertheless, the desire to create good for others or help co-create the best possible reality would include yourself feeling proud of what you've done. That is part of the positive reality that you're creating, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right, thank you. But I think getting back to the point is that I realized that what I think was missing in Westfield was, I was there for a long time. There were promises that weren't kept, and I started losing hope. I started losing hope that I could grow there, and I started losing the will to grow there. So I go, and you know me, I like change. And that's a thing. Could be a blessing and a curse. I say that all the time. I like to move. I don't like to stay in the same place for too long. And we also talked about traveling. If we could figure out how to make that happen, that would be probably something that would tame that part of me. You know what I mean? I completely agree. But, I think the change and, and not for nothing, I've worked in many hospitals over the past 15 years. Never have I lasted more than 3 years in any hospital. Usually at the 2-year mark I was ready to go. Westfield, I was there for 4 years, and at the 4-year mark I was like dying to get out of there, so I and if anything, maybe it was just that I needed a change to see that I could thrive somewhere. But that's the thing, I wasn't able to figure out how to thrive at Westfield. But when I went to this place, it was like once I shifted to, okay, I can do this. This is just different. I'm going to fit in. I'm going to be, find my niche here. Once I did that, everything shifted to, and when the doctor told me, like, when he was asking me about my life coach stuff, and when I was describing to him the energy leadership stuff, his whole demeanor changed. He was like, there are limitless possibilities for me. I can't even tell you how high you can get in this company if you want it. And I will help you do that. And nobody's ever said something like that to me. So I was like, what? And now, because I know that he, not only, you know, it's nice also to have somebody, your boss, essentially, to see the potential in you.
Oh, sure.
And him say it. You know, and help you, want to help you grow.
No greater motivator, right?
Right. So that was really incredible. And I think by him even just acknowledging that, really, I was like, it helped reignite my passion for the field. Because now I'm paying more attention to my patients. I'm way more connected to the clients. I'm way more interested in asking others if they need help. Where at Westfield, I just didn't care. And I was like, oh, well, they can find somebody else to help them because I just don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, here I'm like, can I help you with that? Is there anything I can do to make this easier for you? Is there any more responsibilities that you can give to me to take off of your plate? Is there anything you need from me? What can, you know, so, and I want to do that. I'm not doing it because I think that I should. I genuinely am interested in helping. So that also creates a better team environment. But knowing that your teammate wants to be a part of helping.
Yeah. Or,
you know, moving forward and all those things.
How many people total are working there?
Including, like, the whole entire staff?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say, like, 17.
Compared to Westfield, which was...
Over 50.
Wow. Okay.
I think, at least 50.
Speaking of travel and possibilities, and, I mean, you have your finger... The idiom, you have your finger in so many different pies. Like, you're Canada. Just today, you finally went out and got the passport at the last minute, expedited.
That's how I live my life.
and then, just as you were about to leave, you said, "Babe, where's my I can't find my birth certificate."
That's my life. That's what I do. That's a pattern I really have been avoiding looking at.
Right, because that's what it felt like when we were driving last Friday, and you said, "Oh, I haven't gotten the passport yet," and you're leaving at the end of March. I kept thinking, "Wow, that's like almost self-sabotage." Yeah.
But I can't come up with a reason why I would want to self-sabotage. I you know, the woman, shout out Delia, the woman who is one of the retreat leaders, Delia. When she told me, and I've never met Delia in person. We became friends through a Facebook group, a spiritual group, and that was like a year ago, and our friendship has flourished. We're always connected. We're always talking. She helps me so much with, you know, spiritual crises and personal issues, and just somebody that I connect with on a good friendship level. She's definitely a part of my soul group. And it was like divine intervention that we became friends through this group that we met, because now that group is closed.
Wow.
So, you know, her and I have been on video chat. Like, I know I'm very close to her through the virtual world, but when she told me she was hosting this retreat, I jumped at the opportunity because I knew that I wanted to be in her physical presence. That's very important to me. So, and I know that this retreat is going to be very spiritually refreshing for me, and I think I'm going to be doing a lot of healing and maybe even some indirect shadow work while I'm there. And maybe that's a part that I'm kind of nervous about or trying to not look at. So, but I can't think of any other reason I would self-sabotage myself. I don't know if it's self-sabotage or if it's just this deep ingrained pattern of procrastination that is holding me back from, you know.
Well,
because it's not even that big of a deal. Like, you go to the appointment, you sign the paper.
Yeah.
It wasn't even money that held me back this time. Usually it's the financial blocks that
Right.
I was like, you can't afford to do this. But this time I was like, I have the money to do this. I'm going to do this. Like, it was just getting to the day. And now I went in the middle of a damn snowstorm.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at the last minute, I realized, like, you have to go today, even if it's snowing out, and you have to, like, trek it through.
It's a good thing it didn't get... Well, again, we were joking because as soon as you left, that's when it started sticking on the roads.
Oh, right.
It snowed all morning, but the roads were clear, and then you leave, and...
But then the whole situation was even a pain in the ass. I couldn't find my birth certificate 5 minutes before my appointment started. or was scheduled for.
Then,
I had to go get my pictures taken at the last possible second, an hour before my scheduled appointment, because their camera was still broken, which I could have called to double check and confirm with a few days ago, but I didn't. And then I got there, their power started flickering, and their machine, they had to swipe my debit card like 16 times. Hopefully it didn't go through that many times.
You left your debit card here that
And
first
then I
time.
left my debit card here the first time. I had to come all the way back. And then I got there and their machine wasn't working, so I had to leave and come back home to get a check. And then I was still there for all this time because they were trying to avoid. It was just the whole thing was a mess.
The resistance, and you just plowed through it, and now you're gonna get your passport.
And you know what
hopefully in
though? The
time
thing
and
is,
go.
the guy behind the counter was so worried that I was going to be one of those people. Like, God, really? You have to? I have somewhere to be. I can't be. You know, he really believed that I was going to react because I could feel him. You know, thinking, oh my God, she's going to lose her shit. And I was just like,
hey,
I have nowhere to
happens.
be. I have nowhere to be. I live right across the street. I can walk home. Devon's taken care of. I should have done this 2 months ago. You're stuck here in a snowstorm when you probably would rather be with your family. You're sitting here helping me out at the last possible. Like, how could I be angry?
That's how we do it, but that's how it's done. Is in all moments like that, you put yourself in the other person's shoes, and then you realize, well, there's no reason for me to get angry or upset.
I mean, maybe if I had to go right back to work on my lunch break, I would have been a little frustrated. But it was out of his control.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got off topic again. The purpose is,
no matter what happens when you go, because that's what you were talking about, I just think as an experience, because I think about how long I've known you, and you've maybe been able to go away alone, 2-3 times?
I don't remember doing that ever.
Ever.
I don't know if I have gone away alone.
Like completely alone?
Well, when you and Devin went to Florida, I was alone, but we were also having the biggest fight of our relationship, so that didn't count.
Right.
My intention was to go on a silent retreat during that week, but I just couldn't.
So then you haven't. And then before May was Devin's dad. And so I want you to do this because you need to get out on your own and do a road trip with the girls and cross into another country and do that on your own. As much as I want us to travel together. Sure. You know, it's going to be a cool experience. It might be a life-changing experience.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it.
Next on my list is the sadhana. Sadhana you were doing, which you did kind of for us, I guess, and other things, and didn't make it to 40 days. Why?
Yes. You know, after a while, so it's a long prayer. It takes 30 minutes to complete.
It does, yeah, and you're reciting a whole
Shabbat, it's called. Shabbat, it's a prayer. And it's literally, yes, a whole page. And you recite it 11 times consistently. Or, you know, one after the other, I guess. And, you know, in the very beginning, I had a really... throughout the whole thing, I had very interesting experiences. Because at first, what triggered me to do the sadhana was for my brother. Because this sadhana is typically for women to do for the men in their life, to help the men in their life raise their vibration and live a saintly, godlike existence, essentially. And, you know, I was worried about my brother. My dad had called me that week and said that he was going through a rough time, and so I wanted to start praying for my brother. And then, you know, you have the opportunity to pray for up to 3 men in total. Like it's like it covers 3 people, 3 individuals. The energy of this mantra covers 3 people's journeys, I guess you can say. And so naturally, I wanted you in there because we were kind of rocky. And then I wanted to support my dad's spiritual. So pretty much this mantra helps to support the spirituality or spiritually support these men. And of course, I wanted to help my dad through this as well. Indirectly, of course. I mean, I didn't know what else to do. So when I don't know what to do for somebody, I pray for them. That's just how I operate. So I started doing the sadhana, and At first it was really fun because I had done this a year ago and I was relearning it, and it was fun to realize that I still knew it very well by heart. So it was kind of fun, like still stumbling through a couple words and laughing at myself and doing that whole thing. But I'm trying to remember the timeline. The first week was kind of like just whatever, like I did it. The second week, no, just kidding. The first week was I was really focusing on praying for the three of you. Like I literally would sit down, and as soon as I closed my eyes, I would see the three of you sitting in front of me, your higher selves behind you and kind of above you, a whole room full of guides and angels and people, just hundreds of people around us chanting with me, which would then strengthen the vibration of the prayer. And I would watch the light, the flower of life going from all of your crowns down through your bodies and back up again, just consistently until I finished. Like it was like the healing was taking place through the sacred geometry, and other things would happen. I would have other visions of, this, and it was mostly geared towards you guys, the healing for the three of you. And that was fun for a while until one day I saw my brother hang himself. Did I tell you this?
No, you did not.
So I had this vision of my brother hanging himself. And I knew that it didn't at least I thought I knew that it didn't necessarily mean anything literally.
Sure.
Because I'm very aware of metaphors with our guides.
The first thing I think of is the tarot card. Isn't there a hanged man tarot card?
A hangman? I'm not sure.
No? Okay, sorry.
Maybe something similar. Anyway, so when I saw him hang himself, it kind of it freaked me out and it made me sad. I didn't think that it meant he was suicidal. Honestly, that's not where I went. I did reach out to my friend Delia, and she did some research, and it came to find out that it kind of means something along the lines of repressed emotions and resentment for yourself and your situation, which makes complete sense for what my brother's going through. So I kind of just noticed. I refused to dwell on it. I didn't want to make myself crazy over it. I've learned to do that with my visions over the last few months. But so the focus started becoming more on my brother. Naturally, it just kind of happened that way. And the next time I did it, while I was still seeing the three of you sitting next to each other, I had this incredible experience. It wasn't even just a vision. I was experiencing my brother's sadness, where I saw him at my mother's funeral. I saw his eyes, I saw his expression as a little boy whose mother just died, and he can't even go he was 10 years old, like he couldn't even go to the room to view her. He hid like in the back room.
Okay. And
I remember just feeling his sadness, and I just was I couldn't. That was the morning where you came to say goodbye to me, and I was hysterically crying. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I just couldn't hold it. I was just so hysterical because I felt what he felt. And then as time goes on, I kept watching him growing up with his new situation with not having a mom, and then it switched over to remembering when my mom said to me, "We want you to have a sibling because God forbid something happens to us one day. We don't want you to be alone." And then it switched to me leaving for North Carolina, like when I moved a year after my mom died. And I was like, you know what? My dad just married my stepmom. They're okay. She'll take care of them. And I ran, essentially. I did. I know that I ran. I wasn't ready to really deal with my mom passing and trying to figure out how to have a relationship with my brother and try to live without her. I just decided, again, change. That's my scapegoat. It's change. New things will distract me from what's actually happening. And then I was reminded, you left your brother when he needed you the most. Your mother literally told you that she wanted you to have a sibling when something happened to her so that you wouldn't be alone, and you left him. And maybe other people don't see it that way, but in that moment, during that meditation, that was something that needed to be looked at, because that was something I was repressing, a guilt that I was repressing. And I needed to heal that, and it needed to be brought forward for me to look at. And then I started feeling all sorts of responsibility and anger towards myself about my brother's, he's a drug addict. I felt
so responsible. What if I didn't leave? Maybe this wouldn't have happened. Maybe if I would have stuck around and tried to build our relationship, he wouldn't be in the position so I was dealing with the guilt and, trying to release it in that moment. And then I was getting all these downloads like, that you're not responsible. He has to be responsible for his own life and you are not, blah, blah, blah. Everything happened what I was getting was everything is happening just as it should, like just notice and move forward.
Right.
And then I was doing the meditation the next couple of days and my body started moving, like my pelvis would start moving in a figure 8. And I knew instantly, the message that I got was, now that you've released that, you have the time to start healing your past karma with men. Now you are opening and releasing whatever's in your sacral chakra. And I just knew, like, that was the downloads and the information that I was getting, and I was like, I was just going to go with it. So I just, every morning, I couldn't do the meditation now without moving my hips in a certain way, because I knew that was the kundalini trying to rise and the whatever was stuck trying to, release or whatever. So, and it just kept getting more powerful. Every week there was like a new theme. It was like, first it was the 3 of you, then it was for my brother, then it was for my healing. And then I started getting bored because I wasn't having, this is my issue though, I'm not having an experience. I'm unable to just sit in the meditation and allow whatever's supposed to happen. I'm waiting for what this experience is going to have for me or what I'm going to see. So I think that's when I just stopped. I got bored because I wasn't having visions. I wasn't having a profound awakening. Or do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's an interesting aspect of myself that I need to look at, because I'm not just allowing, I'm not just being. Just like in the Alba session we just watched, it was like, you don't have to have a thing at the end of the tunnel, like just be there and just do it.
And do it, right. Well, yeah, I mean, the way you put it was after Devin's birthday party, which was of course exhausting and got done late, and then you had just decided, I don't feel like doing that. But I always felt like maybe there was something beneath that, because you had come so far. And it was during that time, you're getting up at 4:30 in the morning and you're doing...
And also matcha ran out. When the matcha ran out...
That's right.
When the matcha ran out, because that was a huge part of my morning routine. And I think that's what really helped me through this meditation, was because, when I did my research on the matcha tea, I found out that like monks would use it before meditation and it would help them reach a certain state of consciousness. And there's all these spiritual ceremonies over it. And I really wanted to use it. I don't know necessarily how to do a matcha ceremony. That's not what my intention was. But when I drank the matcha and I knew that, scientifically speaking, it does detoxify your blood and your body. And I thought that was fascinating. And I felt the effects of that. So the matcha was a huge part of my morning routine. And when it stopped, when it ran out, that was also kind of threw me for a loop in my morning routine to continue the meditation. Because I would wake up, freshen up, take my cold shower.
Yeah, you would do the ice cold shower.
Drink the matcha and then meditate. And that was like, when the matcha stopped, I stopped doing the cold shower. Like, I just lost my flow, I think. And that's another interesting thing to look at.
Yeah, because I was really impressed.
When there's a wrench in my routine, I give up on the routine. Like, I should learn to move through that.
Right. And then you were trying to help me get into the meditation, and so we were doing kirtan kriya at night, half an hour or the 11-minute one, and then you sort of got bored of that, and I kept doing it because you were doing it for me and with me, but you're also doing this one in the morning, so I didn't take it personally where you didn't feel like doing it, but I knew I needed to continue it. And then I guess it was a day after you stopped doing yours, or 2 days after you stopped doing yours, I forgot. I wasn't as far in as you, but I forgot. In the span of a few minutes, it was 11:30 at night, and I knew I need to do this now before midnight, and then I went and I think I smoked a cigarette or something. And in that time, like ADD, forgot to do the meditation, and next thing I knew it was 20 after 12, and I missed it. But I guess the overall point of both of those stories is, when you were doing your meditation for us, me, your dad, and G, it was working. I mean, in my personal life, I felt a change instantly when you were doing it, and then it got even better when I was doing the Kirtan Kriya myself. There was a noticeable difference. And like I told you before, there was no traffic during that time. For those 20 days or whatever it was, traffic was amazing. And then literally the day after I stopped doing it, the traffic showed back
Was
up.
it the traffic, or was it your perception of the traffic?
Well,
Or the effect it had on you?
that's definitely a good question to ask and analyze, but I really feel like it just traffic increased in general. But you're right. Maybe it was just, I mean, of course it was all connected. It's all connected. Speaking of it's all connected, how did you like Dirk Gently?
I loved it. I'm really sad that it's not continuing on the 3rd season.
Yeah, it's a great show. But, so what's next? I mean, what do you plan to, because we've talked about how there needs some sort of physical routine. And what do you think you could get into that would be good to release?
I mean,
physical?
yoga is my go-to. I hate going to the gym. I hate to use the word hate. But I do not like the atmosphere of a gym. I don't like the working out type of working out. I don't like that. That's just not something I can do. I'm not interested in running. Yoga is just my, Kundalini, I would say, is more of the spiritual yoga, the awakening, it's the yoga of awareness. That would be more for my mental, emotional, and spiritual healing. And I would love to get back into vinyasa. It's just doing it at home is tough.
Well, you were saying the vinyasa, you think you need more for the physical, the
definitely.
hips and the knees and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because that's been hurting.
I mean,
you.
when I was doing Karma Yogi at Jaipur, I mean, maybe I should look into doing that with them again.
Can you explain to the listeners what
Karma Yogi is a position that I found at a local yoga studio where it's like you volunteer to work there, work checking people in, cleaning up, normal duties that anybody would work at a yoga studio, like cleaning the room, checking people in, selling stuff from the cafe or whatever. And you would get unlimited free yoga classes and a discount on workshops.
And I've known about this for a while, but hearing you say it again, I ask myself, why am I not doing that?
Right.
Because...
But, at the same time, it was a very big commitment. I had to commit to, and I know it doesn't sound crazy, but 4 hours a shift, one shift a week for 4 hours. But, thinking about my schedule now, I work a full schedule now. I work 5 days a week.
Yeah.
To go in on a Wednesday for 4 hours seems daunting to me.
Right.
When I have other things that I want to do, or a Sunday even. I mean...
Well, you've been doing the quantum healing almost every Sunday since, late August? And so how many clients have you had so far?
I have to go back and check. At least 30.
At least 30, right. Okay, how's that going?
It's going great. And another thing I noticed was that... so I've been doing clients for free up until... not my last one, but the one before that. The client that I had that paid me full price, I was so much less in flow than I have ever been. And I think it was because I knew she was paying me full price and I wanted to deliver. I was too attached to the outcome of how the session was going to be. I thought if she's paying me, she should get results. But that completely discredited my belief system in these sessions always go exactly how they're supposed to go, no matter what, because your higher self is only giving you what you need and what you can handle during these sessions. And I completely lost sight of that because money got in the way.
It's fascinating when money was put into the mix. It has that energy about it.
Yeah.
That demand.
And that's my own block. I'm very well aware of my financial blocks. So, and then the week after that, I had somebody come in who was one of my very good friends. Her session I gave her for her birthday, and that was one of the most incredible sessions I've ever facilitated.
So Thanks.
You know, and it's interesting because I did want very badly for her to have a great experience because I care so much for her, and I know from what she's told me the things that she's suffering from, you know, she wants healing for, and I want that so badly for her. And she got everything and more, and that was not a paid session.
Right.
So money is the common denominator here in that regard. So I've been thinking about what I'm going to do next for my remaining clients, and you know, I kind of wanted to offer it as like a love offering basis, like pay what you can, but I have to be careful of that too, because even if somebody can pay, let's say $1,000 for a session, if you tell them you can pay what you can, it's more likely they'll pay $25.
Yeah, no, you have to decide what it is you want to do it, what you want to get out of it. I mean,
Right.
Either way, you're going to get the spiritual benefits out of it and the learning experience, which is why you did the first 25 for free, was to gain the experience.
Right.
But sorry, I'm going to lean toward the side of get over the money issues and learn to talking about Alva Wyman and Shay, the video we just watched, being okay with receiving.
Right.
You know your work is legit, and you know that whatever you're doing is for a purpose and a reason. There's no reason why you can't accept payment for that.
Right.
It's a service, just like anything, just like Reiki or a massage.
Right, and it's interesting too because when I did the group workshop last month at the local metaphysical shop, I was paid for that, and it felt great. I was really in flow. Really in flow. I mean, I put myself into trance most times when I do this work. You know, I have to figure out what it is about the one-on-one thing that's the block with the money.
Well, maybe it's just a matter of it's just new. It was just something new. There was a new variable introduced, and as soon as you become comfortable with that feeling of
maybe.
this is what this is.
Right.
You know, a psychic wants to be paid, or so on and so on. But I like the term energy exchange rather than payment or anything like that. Energy exchange gives it a more neutral feel to it.
For sure.
Can I read this real quick? There is a Hanged Man card in the tarot deck, and it says, "The Hanged Man is one of the most mysterious cards in the tarot deck. It is simple but complex. It attracts but also disturbs. It contradicts itself in countless ways. The Hanged Man is unsettling because it symbolizes the action of paradox in our lives. A paradox is something that appears contradictory and yet is true. The Hanged Man presents to us certain truths, but they are hidden in their opposites. The main lesson of the Hanged Man is that we control by letting go. We win by surrendering." So on and so on. Reminds us that the best approach to a problem is not always the most obvious. When we most want to force our will on someone, that is when we should release. When we most want to have our own way, that is when we should sacrifice. When we most want to act, that is when we should wait. The irony is that by making these contradictory moves, we find what we are looking for. Did you think of any questions for me? No. What do you got?
Like what? What are you avoiding?
That's the question?
Mm-hmm.
What am I avoiding? Whoa. The lights just flickered.
No, that was
I turned them off.
because... No, I think that was because you did that... You put the lamp on that weird setting. That first click.
Yeah, where
Never-
the wire's loose or something. So you're giving it a scientific explanation. And I think it was well timed when you asked me that question. So it's probably both.
Okay.
Right? The spirit works
true.
through
You're
the
right.
circuitry.
I agree.
Ghost
I
in the
didn't even-
machine?
For the first time, I didn't even think that.
Yeah. It's both. It depends on which perspective you want to look at it. Do you want to look at it from the first quadrant, I, subjective, spiritual perspective, or do you want to look at it from the second quadrant, it, third person, observer perspective? It's both. It's just... That's Ken Wilber.
You're avoiding the question I asked you.
I'm avoiding the question. What am I avoiding? It flickered again. I'm avoiding feeling joy. I've been thinking about this lately, about how I want to stop thinking and just experience the joy of where I am, who I am, and what I'm doing, and who I'm with. Just enjoy it.
Why are you avoiding feeling that?
Why am I avoiding feeling it? I guess it's very like a cynical sort of like that's not for me, or it's like something that you have to figure out that I haven't figured out.
I don't understand.
I'm not sure I understand either. Like,
are you consciously avoiding feeling happiness?
that might be it. Or if I'm feeling happiness, it's difficult to maintain it. I'm very much at whim to my moods and emotions, and so when negative thoughts creep in, I can hop on that train very easily and ride it, you know, and then so it's not only it's not only being happy, it's realizing you're happy and then not doing something to undermine it. You know, the phrase I hear the most often in my from friends is you need to get out of your own way. Right? So what does that mean?
You're asking me what that means?
Yeah.
Get out of your own way means that you're the only one blocking yourself from everything that you want. Your circumstances, your situation, that doesn't matter. You have a choice whether or not you want to persevere. You have a choice whether or not you want to seek the things you want, actively seek them, actively go out and find them. You have a choice in how you feel. You have a choice in how you show up every day.
Right.
There's nothing and no one that's standing in your way with a gun to your head saying you can't do something. There's nothing physical in your way keeping you from anything. It's you.
It is nice to know that we had this idea and I wanted to do it. We actually sat and recorded me talking about doing it, and then it actually happened. And here we are 22 episodes later. I've had a bunch of different guests, and you've been this one consistent, encouraging force throughout it. There go the lights on and off flickering again. And there's a electric saw cutting down a tree, I guess that's what they're doing.
I guess so. Tree fell in the middle of the road due to the storm.
Everything is crazy.
I think what this is lacking is actual structure and subjects.
The podcast?
Maybe, because I
The
feel like the
episode?
last two that we did together were like super like...
Well, they can't all be gems.
Maybe it's because we didn't like really schedule it appropriately, you know, and it's kind of like we were doing our own thing today and it's like, all right, well, let's do this, and you know what I mean? Maybe it wasn't like something like
Yeah, no,
that
we
our hearts were set on because we didn't schedule the time and say we're definitely going to do it, and we didn't both mentally prepare enough or something, you know?
I agree. I mean, the time to have done it would have been this past weekend when we were at that cabin with nobody else around. But then we sort of got distracted with television and Golden Girls.
I hated it.
And
television.
why did we hate it?
The commercials.
The commercials.
They were awful. They were repetitive and awful and annoying, and they literally hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, I felt physical pain having to listen to and watch these commercials. Literally, it definitely lowered my vibration.
It gets into your brain.
It was awful. I'm so glad that we don't have a TV.
Rogan was talking to this comedian, Rory Albanese, and he was saying about how he hates it when people say, oh, you know, I don't have television, I don't have cable TV. He's like, well, do you have internet? And like, yeah, I have internet. Well, then you have TV, shut up. It was Rory Albanese that was saying it. I'm like, no, there's a difference, because there are not as many ads if you're watching stuff over the internet. Nowhere near as many commercial interruptions.
I mean, I guess I could understand his point, though. You know,
you're
being
still
connected.
Yes, yeah, you're still connected to the Matrix and
right.
still watching things. Your face in front of a screen. Yeah.
I think a part of it too is because the conversation didn't flow as well this time. I feel self-conscious about knowing it's there.
The conversation.
The
recorder.
Yeah. I think that's part of it too.
I have to say, this is the first one in a long time that's felt, difficult to get out. Or
interesting.
Yeah. For me, it was just a matter of getting it out in time.
I don't know. Maybe you could have Brianna on your next podcast.
Brianna, you think she has a lot to say?
She's over there.
She's always up my ass anyway.
Everybody is, apparently.
Everybody. I was just outside shoveling, and I'm not out there 5 minutes. And the neighbor, who I never see or talk to, shows up and starts talking.
Well, because they want to come out the window or the door or the house and look around and investigate what's going on in the neighborhood, and then you get caught out there.
Yeah.
I never see them out there, you're right.
Right, and I just thought for sure at 8:30 at night that nobody would be out there shoveling.
She's nice, though.
And then she leaves, and then our landlord shows up.
Inevitable. It's because of your vibration, your light.
It
Remember,
is.
you talked about that in your quantum healing, which you need to do again. Are you avoiding that too?
I'm probably avoiding the quantum healing.
Like, you're avoiding happiness. Are you avoiding healing?
Yeah, I'm avoiding healing. I'm avoiding doing my work.
Your spiritual work?
My spiritual work.
It's hard work.
Yes, it's hard work, and I'm lazy, and that's what it is. It's like there's a difference between knowing it and doing it.
It changes everything when you do it.
There's actually a difference between knowing it, studying it, and doing it, because studying it is one thing, but then actually putting it into practice.
Remember, I wanted to do automatic writing. I've been trying to get back into doing automatic writing, but the other day I had some downloads and I recorded it on my phone. And I was so hysterical crying when it was coming through because it was such good information. And it's like I theoretically knew the information that came through because I've heard the thoughts or the ideas before, and theoretically, intellectually, I knew this concept of what I was speaking about. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head right now, but when the downloads were coming through and I was learning it, really truly understanding it, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It was a whole different experience. And that's why I was hysterically crying, because I was like, oh my God, I actually really do get this concept.
Right.
So there's this huge difference between all the things that we read in all the books, Conversations with God, A Course in Miracles, all these amazing books where we sit there and we could have a conversation, a very intellectual, very deep conversation about those concepts and say that we understand them, but we only understand them on a very surface level.
Right.
And I only can say that now because of the work and the downloads that I've been getting, and because it's a different level of understanding. It's a knowing. Definitely
one that is difficult at best and impossible at worst to put into words. And this living, felt experience. And trying to communicate it in words is very difficult.
And that's why doing automatic writing is so hard, because the information is coming through so quickly. My hand is not as fast. And even when I'm writing, I have to stop and be like, how do I say that? And then I'm like, no, just keep writing, because you're going to lose the knowing, the information or whatever. But it also happened when I was recording, because there was a feeling. It wasn't, words could not express what I was trying to, there was no words that could have expressed what I was knowing or being told. Like, it was really difficult.
Right.
And that's why a lot of the times when I do have these quote-unquote profound spiritual experiences, like, it's not that I don't share them because I don't want to share them. It's really because I feel like they're for me to just know and experience. There's no way anybody's going to understand. So what's the purpose of me sharing? Because I want to control somebody else's understanding when it's not really meant for that. It's just meant for me to understand and move forward with and integrate and embody.
It's understandable. You're laughing because I always want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's understandable too. You're
Sure.
curious and interested.
Absolutely. Well, there's also a selfish aspect. It's like, oh, well, what is? Does it have to do with me? Is it going to affect me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because there's an investment, you know, in the relationship.
Sure.
So you want to know where your partner's head is at. And if there's anything earth-shattering,
I think you need to do the work. I think so, because I'm concerned about your healing and your well-being, and I'm also concerned about us, you know. Not that we necessarily need to be quote-unquote on the same level, but, you know, that we could relate in a different way. But that goes back to me always wanting the next thing, you know, always wanting more and deeper, and you know what I mean? Can't be satisfied with what I have.
But that's a positive quality, and our relationship is still early on. 4 years we just passed. But why wouldn't you want to grow deeper and experience this relationship on other dimensional levels? So, yes.
But I feel like I always tell you things like, you know, doing the work or giving you ideas, and like I kind of feel like I stopped doing that because I don't want you to think I'm being pushy or like trying to get you to do something you don't want to do or you're not ready to do. But in the same token, it's almost like if I don't push you to do those things, and you're not going to push yourself, or nobody else is really going to do it.
Right. Well, I look at you as playing that valuable role in my life of being a reminder and pushing me. Go ahead, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, like, you've told me that before, and I've even asked you that before, like, is that what you need me to do? But that also comes as, like, a burden to me a little bit. Like, not maybe burden isn't the right word, but pressure, or, like, I shouldn't have to take on that responsibility.
Yeah, no, I should be responsible for managing my own healing and growth, absolutely. And that's one of the struggles I think that we go through is, you know, anybody is attracted to somebody that is confident and knows what they're doing and has a purpose. And when you see that in somebody, you're attracted to it. And it's as simple as that. And the same thing with the opposite. If somebody's not that, if they're insecure or they're not working on themselves, you know, and you are, then it's going to seem unattractive. I just find that, you know, when you make suggestions for things, there's so many, and it becomes overwhelming. Like the potentialities, the possibilities become so overwhelming, and then I come back to, oh, I have to get up tomorrow. So I never start anything because it just seems like there's so much that needs to be done. And then there's like the real world, the real life.
This is not the real world. That's the thing. We're so programmed and conditioned to believe this is truth that we're not willing to look at the spiritual side of it, which is the most important side. I'm not saying that the human experience is not important, because this is duality. This is what we came here for, to experience light and dark. But we still have to work on, you know, the healing part, the spiritual part, so that we can navigate the human part a little bit better. As you just said, you have trouble with the negative thoughts and getting trapped in that mindset. With spiritual work, you'll be able to control that.
Right. So when you say spiritual work, what are your initial
like
recommendations? Top
meditation
5?
Would be number one, first and foremost. Consistent meditation. Even if it's like 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, I was doing the 11-minute.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, people put so much pressure on themselves. Like, they say, I don't know how to meditate, because they assume that they need to sit in silence for 30 minutes and do something. You literally don't have to do anything. just like in Shay's session, I really do like guided meditations, but I've been meditating for so long that I now am getting more comfortable with the allowing and the silent meditation, because I'll just talk to my guides and they'll give me answers. That's fun for me. Whether I'm going deep enough with that type of work is still unclear to me, because I look at it as fun. Like, my guides literally will show me things and talk to me. It's fun. Yeah. But am I following through with their advice? More often I'm not, for whatever reason, but yeah, meditation would be number one.
I have no fear of meditating in silence or thinking that I have to do anything. I'm past all that. Like, I understand meditation and I'm not uncomfortable with it. It's more just the consistency.
But I think too, in your case, because you have such an issue with the negative thoughts, there has to be some other modality. Reiki's not real. I mean, Reiki is great, but I don't think it goes deep enough for you to work on your mind.
Well, journaling was the one thing that really helped.
Journaling.
I
was also thinking of pranic healing. Pranic healing is fascinating.
Explain that.
I can't really explain it very well, because I don't know too much about it from, only from the little that I've read. But prana is life force energy that we all have. That's what is keeping us alive. And in the pranic healing modality, they talk about how, we have our energy bodies, and all things manifest in the energy body first before they manifest in the physical body, because they have to go through the layers. Right. So if you go to a pranic healer and they start doing a body scan on you, they might notice some holes in your pranic field, in your energy body field, and they'll either energize your body with prana and then seal it in and recover, or fix the hole in your energy field. And it's more than that. It's really fixing the prana, or energizing the body with prana where it's lacking prana. Chakras, certain parts of the body, the physical body, the energy body, the aura, all these different layers. They're working on enhancing the prana or restoring the prana in those areas of the body, which, if you think about it, if prana is what keeps us alive, we want to have that pranic body healthy. Sure. But they are doing a lot of research with pranic psychotherapy now for drug addiction and any addiction. Lucia, it helped her stop smoking. And it's because the thoughts and the negative emotions are starting in the energy body, and they're able to repair those energy bodies and kind of stop those thoughts and emotions and transmute them into something more helpful. Right. And also, like any kind of therapy, I think, is helpful. Coaching is extremely helpful, because it gets deep and helps you realize things that you're unable to realize on your own, or unwilling to. I shouldn't say unable.
Well, again, I was always open to therapy, but it's just the money required to go to a session every week.
I know, it's ridiculous. Even every 2 weeks, I don't think that's enough.
Right.
Every 2 weeks is not enough.
In general, or for me?
In general, I think. I think it should be every week.
Yeah, I agree.
There's so much that could happen in 2 weeks. So much one could forget. So much one can, the purpose is consistency.
It's true. Well, that's why I want to get this podcast out, because the listeners are going to forget that there's a podcast.
Yeah, I like that.
You have class? sounds very powerful. Having a positive family, the power of the prayer, and God, plus a positive attitude. All those things mean so much to get you through life.
We covered all the important stuff.
That's right. So now let's cover the unimportant stuff.
It's a microcosm of all of the pain of the United States.
Ooh.
You see, getting these moves.
We left off on a specific thought thread. You don't remember where we ended it, huh?
I'm not sure I remember what I did yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. When you're in the moment, there's only this moment.
I guess tune in next time when I have some interesting shit to talk about. Other than that, I love you. I love the world. Peace out.
Sir, I avoid responsibility. That way nobody feels compelled to put me in a position of power.
Be excited, because now it's here. Shiny gift of a lesson that you have in front of you. And now you have to work through it. You really have to, if you want to and you're tired of it, you have to work through it.
Why not? And give yourself, I would call it a dose of real reality. I mean, where nothing makes sense but everything works.
Let's be real. None of this is real.
I feel like I'm telling a story.
What's your advice for people in life?
My advice is to stay strong, be helpful, be smart, be brave, be powerful, be kind, and be loving to everyone, even your pets.
People are like, oh, wouldn't you get lonely when all your loved one dies? Like, no, you get new loved ones.
We really don't know what's in store for us. We really don't know.
Well, would you want to know?
Well, no.
No.
Let's say something bad happened to you. Move on. It already happened. Just move on to the better things in life.
I hope it's really not just us.
Right.
Everyone else is like, self-created eternal hell. No. Every waking moment is a joyous experience of growth and opportunity. I find myself totally spiritual-centered and at peace with the balance between me and the rest of the universe.
What a heck of time!
After all that, they won the game.